and we have a new guest here called Sasha. Good evening, Sasha.
Good evening. How are you, Mel?
Not too bad at all. So we just need to confirm that this is broadcasting okay. So can you just check if it's playing?
No, no, you,
No?
you are not broadcasting. No, I'll
Oh,
check it
no.
when we
Okay.
go live.
Right. Okay.
Okay,
So
just second. Just second. It's go live. Yeah, we are.
we're live. Okay, because it says 0 here on my side. We're definitely live. Okay, brilliant. So, Sasha, welcome. We're worried just before the live broadcast that I had technical problems. I'm a bit of technophobe here, but hopefully this is working just fine. Sasha, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, my name is Alexander, and I am from Montenegro. It's a small country in the Europe. Today, I'm with my friend Mel, and we will try to show the audience the Jewish sources that was copied and put in Quran. And when I say Jewish sources, I don't talk about Torah or Tanakh because that is also the Christian sources, but the Talmud, the Mishnah, the Midrash, some mysticism Jewish, and some stuff like that.
Excellent. Now, you have a channel with some friends. I'm going to share what it looks like here. Let me just get it 1 second.
Thank you, Mel. It's small channel. It's mostly in Serbian language, but for instance, this video you can watch on English. It starts from 5th minutes, like something like that.
Yeah.
From 5th minutes is on English, and it is interview with ex-Muslim, Bedouin Arab from Kuwait. So
Yeah.
it's very nice to watch it if you want it. It's
Yeah.
a very interesting story.
Fantastic. So, I think I've already shared the link to that in the chat, but I'll also put it in
Yeah,
the
thank you.
description as well.
In the future, we will do a couple more videos on English, especially refutations about some, well, mostly not atheist, but unfortunately Muslim apologist, and that is pretty shameful that people use lies, and they are claiming that they are people of God. But what can we do? Our job is to refute their claims and show that they are lying, like for some stuff that said for the Bible, trying to justify bad stuff from the Sharia law. So
I noticed
couple
that
things we do.
we have a guest in the chat called Dragon Denarius, who's from Serbia. So maybe you can say hello
I
to her
know.
in Serbia.
Hello,
We know her.
zdravo Dragana. Pisali smo neđe prije ispod, ja mislim, Ahmad ex Muslim kanala. We were chatting like Yugoslavian people below the Ahmad ex Muslim channel. She was moderator there.
Fantastic. Okay, it's turning out to be a small community. Everyone has connections with everyone. It's brilliant.
Yeah, yeah.
I should say in passing that Serbia is unquestionably one of my favorite countries. I once was sitting outside a house in a small little town in Serbia, and someone welcomed me into their house to have dinner, and it was treated like a king. So yeah. So
You
hello.
will find a lot of people that are very, very good, very good people in Serbia, and also in Montenegro. It is a small country that neighboring with Serbia. You should sometime visit Montenegro also. We even have a sea.
What was that?
Yeah, we have a seashore and the mountains, so you can pick and choose.
Absolutely. So let me share your PowerPoint.
Yeah.
And it's over to you. So you're going to be talking about the Jewish origins of the Quran. Now, the context of this for everyone really is the suggestion that's been made on this channel and a number of other channels is that instead of the Quran and the Hadiths being, well, let's start with the Quran being divinely revealed. Instead, it's the product of the sources that surrounded the people at the time, and they're simply just looking at the Mishnah and the Talmud and so forth, and show up in the Quran because they're just basically paraphrasing. So I think this is evidence in support of that.
Yeah, and my opinion is when Quran originally was put together, that was not just like today. It was different about theology, doctrine, but also similar to the Qurans, but not for all stuff. And it was like from the some kind of alliance of Jews and Arabs like heretical Christians.
Yeah.
With heretical, I don't think something bad, but just people that use, for instance, apocryphal gospels and some apocryphal stories,
Yeah.
and also from some kind of Jews and Sabians, Mandaeans, like they also was some Jewish sect. So they put all together and make their own book, and that was like for the Arabs. And basically, that book, at least at the beginning, was like confirmation of the Bible, not refutation of the Bible, like today Islamic imams are telling you.
It's amazing how they flipped the script.
Yeah,
And
pretty, pretty amazing.
even though it clearly says it confirms the scriptures, they basically
Yeah,
are arguing for
yeah.
the opposite. It's
Because they
dumb.
changed the Quran. Basically, they changed the Quran and they changed the theology of Quran and they do some violent stuff with this kind of scripture, Quran. Take it violently from natural environment and historical context, and put it throughout the Hadith and false Islamic history in some new narrative to make new prophet, new religion, and something else. And probably that guy Muhammad, he was not a prophet, but he was some kind of their leader that ordered for Quran to be collected together. And also, I supposed he was a Mandaean, Sabian, or some Orthodox, even maybe some Orthodox Jew, but he have some Jewish roots in the beginning. Who knows?
Yeah.
After that, they also assimilate some stuff from the Christianity. So it was like some Jewish heretical Christian Arab alliance, basically.
Yeah. I was just
Hadith,
talking to
yeah,
just on that. I was just talking to someone yesterday. So we're talking 2022, obviously, who was originally a Christian and has kind of taken on Buddhist beliefs. And the way she described it is she believes the Christian beliefs and the Buddhist beliefs simultaneously, which is obviously crazy
yeah,
for a Christian, But for a heretic or someone who has a heretical point of view, they don't see anything wrong with just mixing
yeah.
things together, whether they
Yes,
make sense or not. And that's,
yeah,
I think, the sort of mentality that was very common at that time in certain
yeah. And at
places.
that time, and basically the hadiths was like making a new narrative from the Umayyads and especially Abbasids, and also I think in the hadiths stories often they just did some replacement. Lot of hadiths probably was about Jesus, but they put like Muhammad, and basically Muhammad is like title, and Jesus was in the Arab world called also Muhammad, like praise one. So it
Yeah.
was not the problem to change the practically the person in that hadith. It's not all hadith, but some.
Yeah. Okay, so let's have a look at your first example to lead the way.
Well, first example is probably obvious one. It says like, you have story from the Surah 263 and also from Awad Zarah 2b verse 15, 16. It's like from Jewish Babylonian Talmud, and it's basically the same story. And even you will see in the tafsirs is the basically same explanation. What is so crystal clear in this story is that this story was later invention, like from third, fourth century. Why? Because it doesn't follow the context of Torah. not even the Dead Sea Scrolls, for example, not even the as I think, not even the Septuagint, because in Torah, and also in the same Torah that this Jew that wrote this stuff in the Babylonian Talmud, all the context of Jews receiving the covenant with God, it's on free will basis. It's not on threatening basis. So some Jewish rabbi, at least 200, maybe more years after Jesus, invented this kind of story that is go against context of Torah. Before that was earlier rabbi stories that were also like fantastic, but goes in the line with the context of Torah. So let's start with the first example. Sorry for my English people, it's not my native language.
That's okay.
Like I said, Surah 263. This is Sakih International, so it's like for the Muslims the best international, in the best translation in the world. He said, "And recall when we took your covenant, O children of Israel, to abide by the Torah, and we rise over you the mountain, saying, Take what we have given you with determination, and remember what is in it, that perhaps you may become righteous." So
saying we raised over you the mountain, it's like we've raised over you a mountain. That
above
seems
them, like
so I
threatening
just
them.
have this image of a floating mountain above the people.
Yeah,
that's what comes to mind.
Exactly. That was the context in the point. We will see now. So we will see in Avodah Zarah 2b, Holy One forced the mountain like a tube on Israel and said to them, if you accept the Torah, it is better, and if not, there you will be buried. The verse teaches that the Holy One, blessed be He, overturned the mountain Sinai, above the Jews like a basin, and he said to them, if you accept the Torah, excellent, and if not, there under the mountain will be your burial. So, Mel, you are free to tell something about it also, like your impression?
Yeah, so it's basically like a warning that if you don't accept the Torah, you'll be buried under the mountains. It's like an overturned basin will be dropped on you, never to be heard of again. So I see definitely a very strong similarity between Surah 263 and that I think it's unquestionably borrowed from there.
Well, not just similarity. Now let's examine further proofs, arguments.
Yeah.
It's just to show people like Avodah Zarah. It was this part of the Babylonian Talmud was written 450 AD to 550 AD, but the story originated a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
So this is the Jewish, let's say the page, and also their rabbi and professor. So they explain that there was several midrash that was do some kind of story to explain the story from Torah, and most of that stories was that God raised the mountain above the Jews to protect them from the thunders, from the winds and everything, because when they was receiving the revelation, it was happened something like big thunders, big clouds, big wind and everything. But let's see the next picture. That is kind of the explanation, and they are explaining thing that by reading literally the text from Torah, it's like they understand it literally, not figuratively, like you are standing below the mountain, like in the beginning of the mountain, but they understand it like you are standing below, like your mountain is above you. Now from the same page you will see, God treat at the mountain. In contrast to all these positive portraits of God covering Israel with the mountain, the Babylonian Talmud, apparently quoting the 3rd century Halakhic Midrash, said the stuff that we said, and that we showed, that God threatened the Jews with a mountain, putting mountain above them. So if they refuse to accept the Torah, the law, God will kill them with the mountain.
Can I interrupt you there for a second? So
Yeah.
it seems to me that the people who were writing the Quran, you know, whatever form they were writing it, whether in fragmentary form or in a book form, they didn't go for the common Jewish source or story, which was positive. They went for that one that went against the flow. So it seems,
No, actually not here, Mel, because Babylonian Talmud, because
yeah,
rabbis with the centuries
yeah,
distance them further and further from the Judaism from the 1st century. You must understand that it was pretty different believing system and doctrines and theology. And Babylonian Talmud for the later generations of the rabbis have more importance than that, for instance, Jerusalem Talmud. And also Babylonian Talmud was, in Babylon, in Persia and Iraq, today Iraq. And that is the sources that was close to the Arabia and also with Iraq, because I'm not familiar, big fan of the theory that Islam became popular in Mecca, and Mecca
yeah.
didn't exist basically in the time.
Just clarify there, because I'm a little bit confused. So you first of all, you mentioned that this story of the threatening mountain being, like, as it were, threatened to be dropped on. You said that, correct me if I'm wrong, you said that kind of went against the other versions. But are you saying now that, just to clarify now, are you saying that the ones that were positive were coming from Jerusalem, but the one that went against the flow was the Babylonian one? Or are you saying within the Babylonian tradition there was positives and this one negative one? So just clarify which you mean.
Mostly in the Jerusalem Talmud, it was positive, and negative start from the Babylonian, but that is the reason that this story went to the Quran, because Babylonian Talmud was much more familiar with the Arabs and that part of the world, and for the Jews in that part of the world, that, for instance, Jerusalem Talmud. And today, even Babylonian Talmud, it's much more famous and impactful for today's Judaism that, for instance, Jerusalem Talmud. And
just to feed back again, so that would suggest then that the writers must have been at least in or visiting or in contact with Iraq. Like I've already spoken about all the different Iraqi connections with the Quran. So this is more confirmation of it.
It's from Iraq. It was made, put up together in Iraq. It's not like some day one rabbi stand up from the bed. They said, "Oh, I will write the Babylonian Talmud," but they together collect the sources that have like later sources, later inventions after Christ 200 or 300 years ago. Some sources also from the time of the Christ, and put it together. But mostly this particular story is from the 3rd century, not before. It's not like was famous in the Jewish people during the time of Christ or before. So this is later invention, and later invention was copied and put in the Quran. Now,
fantastic.
Yeah. So now, for example, somebody probably will say, "Oh, but it doesn't mean that." Yeah, it's mean that because look at the tafsirs. Tafsir Jalalain said the same things. The mount which we uprooted from the earth and placed above you when you refuse to accept the Torah, and we said take forcibly, like threatening them. Also, look, next slide. Also said the Tafsir Ibn Kathir. It's where is the red line? Also the same stuff. You see, Ibn Allah said when the Jews refused to obey, Allah raised the mountain above their heads so that they would listen. Also,
just going to point out, I see the word the Tur, which is the Aramaic word for the mountain. It doesn't appear in Arabic. It's a borrowed word from Aramaic.
Yeah,
So that's
like lot of Aramaics, Syriac, even Ethiopic, words.
but Gnosis, just Gnosis. Sorry to keep cutting across you, but Gnosis that he doesn't quite understand that it means literally mountain, because he says Tur is a type of mountain. No, it actually is a mountain. So
Yeah, it's like
they
type
have a
of green
vague,
mountain. If it's not green, it's not mountain, something like that. Yeah, I know,
yeah. But it shows they kind of get it, but they're not familiar
not
enough
not
with the
not
Aramaic.
really. Yeah,
Yeah.
because
Sorry.
the hadiths was written by the Persians. It's
Yeah.
Persians. It's not like that people thought it's sahih. It's already reliable. No, it's not. It's not. It's like start with Umayyads that were also Persians and was finished in the Baghdad, also with Persians, and probably was invented or corrected or fabricated or contaminated with new stuffs. So they are not so reliable. Now, of course, our friends, the Vagandists, will say, but Ibn Kathir quotes some Israelite. It's some narrations that in Islam are not acceptable. But let's look other tafsir. Jalalain is summary tafsir, so Jalalain collect all the main tafsir's opinions and make his own. It was tafsir from the 15th and 16th century, made Jalal al-Din al-Suyuti and his student. Let's look the earliest tafsir. Let's say Al-Tabari. The same story, the same point. You see, he brought the root of the mountain out of the ground, so he raised it above them like a canopy, and Al-Tur in Syriac, the mountain, for intimidation of fear.
There we go. It
Yeah,
is totally acknowledging
copy paste,
its
copy
source.
paste. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, Al-Tabari, go again. The mountain was raised above them. It's like second narration. The mountain was raised above them like a cloud, and it was said to them, "You will believe, or it will fall on you." Same story, same stuff. Look
Babylonian
now,
Talmud.
Babylonian Talmud. The mountain was raised over the children of Israel, and he said, "You will believe in it, or it will be fall upon you." Third list of narration.
This is
So
great stuff, man.
yeah, so also in the same explanation, in the same tafsir from the same surah, you will find also one more similarity from the Quran, from the tafsir, and also from the Babylonian Talmud, and also from the story that is not, as I know, so familiar before the Babylonian Talmud. So let's look like this. It's Shabbat 88b6. It's also from the Talmud. And Al-Tabari for Surah 263 and Surah 255-56 said the same stuff. Look at this.
Yeah.
And recall when you said, "Oh Moses, we'll never believe you until we see Allah outright. So the thunderbolt took you while you were looking on. Then we revived you after you were dead, that perhaps you would be grateful." So basically, God killed them. When they saw the God, God killed them. And after that, God resurrected them, revived them. Look at now. Shabbat 88b. It's base 6 line. He sent down a dove that was going to bring the dead back to life, and he brought them back to life, and it was said, rain of alms, something like that. That is not so much now important. And since their souls left their bodies from the first utterance, how did they receive the second utterance? Rather, God rained the dough upon the dead. In the future, will revive the dead, and he revive them, as it is stated, "Your God poured down a bountiful rain." So that is continue of explanation, but the same stuff. The same stuff. Look at now. Also in the tafsir, Al-Tabari, they came the wrath of God, and a thunderbolt struck them, so they all died. He said, then God revived them after they are dead, And Moses said to them, take the book of God. And they said, no. He said, what happened to you? We died and then came back to life.
So
Same story.
essentially, they've taken it and they've made it a little bit more dramatic. So in the Jewish source, it was simply the dew that like the moisture comes down. But they saw, well, what's more dramatic than a bit of rain or a bit of moisture? Turn it into lightning, and there we go. And the rest is essentially the same.
But also in the Talmud, look, it said also when you see that they was receiving the revelation, I think also they saw the God or something similar, and they like was dead, died, and God revived them also. It's the same story practically, you see. And the Rabbi Yehuda ben Levi said, everybody with the speech, the word and the speech that came out of the Holy One's mouth, blessed is he, ignited the soul of Israel, who said, my soul will go forth in this word. And after the first speech was silenced, the second speech did they receive, he sent down a dew that was going to bring the dead back to life, and he brought them back to life. So basically they was dead also, because hearing the revelation or seeing the face of God, I'm not sure what was the real context, but also God bring back them to life. Same story basically in the Quran and in the tafsirs, So copy paste.
Copy paste, yeah.
Yeah, what can we say? Now they will say, oh, but Quran is sent to, correct the previous scriptures. First of all, these stories, especially the first one, was invented later, after the Jesus even. Not the Moses, but after the Jesus.
Nothing to do with the scriptures.
Nothing to do with the scriptures. It's like made up story by the rabbis. So is Allah Rabbi? I don't think so. God is not Rabbi. Now we have third example, and we'll see this kind of stuff also, like Surah 6 101 and Kohelet Rabach 4:8. Now I put the word dating here because I have specific reason. This is later source, like 6th to 8th century, and some of our Gandhi's friends will say, oh, but that Jews copied from the Muslims. Some scientists argue that some stuff from the Islam mysticism went to the Jewish mysticism in Jewish sources, but not this one. They are arguing about the golden calf, golden little bull story from the Quran and the later Jewish midrash, but not about this stuff. About this stuff, I didn't find that they are arguing about that. So let's look it.
Okay.
Surah 6, 101 said, he is the originator of the heavens and the earth. How could he have a son when he does not have a companion? And he created all things. So we have, let's say from the basics, we have here very, very problematic stuff without even Jewish sources, because Mary could have a son without the husband, but God cannot have a son without woman. Oh my God. Crazy theology. Now, this is Kohelet Rabach 4:8. That's basically the same story. There is one and not another. He also has no son or brother. He also has no son or brother. If he has no brother, from where would he have a son? I just read that is like below the lines, So now somebody will say, okay, it's similar, but it's not the same. But we will use a little bit science, because Alan F. Segal, Two Powers in Heaven, early rabbinic report about Christianity and Gnosticism, Baylor University Press, 2012, page 140 and 41, said, the traditional understanding is that this letter is not just to be constructed as brother, rather as consort or wife. So if that is true, and probably it is, science said that is. This guy is very, very good. He's expert on the early rabbinic literature. Then we have basically the same story: how God can have a son when he have no wife. No, you
Can
should
I
read it.
jump in on that for a second?
Yeah, of course.
I did a video there recently, and it was referencing the Syriac tradition, which referred to the Holy Spirit as a mother. And maybe there's a connection there that the Jews are reacting to the Christian idea of the Trinity in the context of the Holy Spirit being viewed as a woman or female, or essentially if the Holy Spirit is the mother to Jesus, then the Holy Spirit is the wife of God the Father. Essentially, that may be the context that the rabbis are mocking or responding to.
Interesting idea, my friend. Interesting idea, because
Yeah.
could be. As I know for other theory that there was some kind of Christian sect, like complete heresy, that believed that Mary is part of the divinity or Trinity, or I don't know, something.
I
But
think that's the
also, yeah, could be that your
yeah.
theory.
The more I just point out that the more common belief,
Common source belief.
the most common thing was the Holy Spirit as a mother. And actually, there are Syriac Christians even today that take that view. It's just a different way of looking at the Trinity to what you find in, say, in Latin Christianity.
It's more logical to me that for instance the first theory that I mentioned, it's more logical, your theory, because it was more common source, more approachable source to the Jews and Arabs. So probably they take theory from the most common and publicly announced belief that from, for instance, some minor sects that was insignificant.
So to address what, there might be some Christians watching thinking this is ridiculous. When would Christians ever believe the Holy Spirit is a mother? But in the Gospels, you have the line from Jesus: "You must be born again of the Spirit." So you can't be born of something unless what you're born of is a mother. So it makes sense. It makes sense within an Aramaic and Hebrew context. In a way, it doesn't make sense maybe in another context.
Actually, when you told me, I watched your live with Murad, and I noticed that you said, and I said, what is Mel talking about? Because it's not context. But now when you explain me the Jewish and the Aramaic sources, that was very common in that part of the world. It's have much more. It's have more logic for me that, for instance, the first theory, that is old theory.
Yeah.
So we should, for instance, maybe go to another example. This is the Kohelet Rabbah, just to people to see the datings is 6th to 8th century, but most material is taken for the earlier sources, like Ezekiel Rabbah, Vajker Rabbah, Shirshim Rabbah, Jerusalem, Babylonian Talmud, tako dalje, and etc. So just to people notice that this is from early sources, and from the parts that scientists argue that who take from who, did Jews take from Muslims or Muslims from Jews? It's not this part. I didn't find that this part was like subject on some polemics.
I would say there that if there were earlier sources, then the Jews didn't have to take it from Islam. They had it from earlier times.
No, just story. The modern scientists argue about the story about the golden calf, about the golden little bull that Jews takes and make a god. God forgive them, but not about this story. This story, I haven't find anything that anybody said that Jews take from the Muslims. So it's probably the other way around.
Yeah.
Now is example 4, and we all know God is praying. It's in Sahih Hadiths, and we also have the similar tradition in Barakot 7a, Also in hadiths, you have like in Muhammad Sirah Rasulullah, some story that also said that God is praying. Muhammad asked Jibril, and Jibril say, yeah, God is praying. I think modern Islamic, like Albani, it's from 20th century, said that is like a rejected story or something like that, but it's modern, it's not old Islamic beliefs. Also, I found some of the, also the student of the Tirmidhi, the student of Imam Bukhari's son story, but I also am not sure that is Sahih Hadith. So I will stick with the Sahih Hadith because of the authenticity of our evidence.
Okay.
So this is the Qudsi Hadith. It's like most famous Hadith because it's go directly from the Muhammad and God and something like that. And said that when Allah created the creation, He pledged Himself by writing in His book, which is laid down with Him, my mercy prevails over my wrath. Also related Muslim, Bukhari, Nasai, Ibn Majah. So for Islamic school, it's like 100% true. Also, we have similar stuff. Anas ibn Malik reported that the Prophet, may Allah bless him and give him peace, said, if anybody says that the prayer on me once, Allah prays on him 10 times and removes 10 errors from him. Now somebody will say it's not praise, it's blessings. I don't know. I leave it with to you decide, because they do a lot of polemics about this, but the context is basically similar, because look at this. Berekot Rabbah 7:8. It's Rabbi Yosef Chalafat. Also, it's very early, as you see, early second century. Said Rabbi Yosef, from where is derived the Holy One, blessed be He, praise. And now they are explaining, and now they are explaining God's prayer. Gemara asked, what does God pray? And they said, Rav Zutra Bartovia said that Rav said, God says, may it be my will that my mercy will overcome my anger. That is, like short one. And now let's go longer one. Basically, anger against the Jews, because it's like Jewish scripture. Look at this now. This is legendary Rabbi Ishmael. He said that Rabbi Ishmael ben Elisha, the high priest, said, once on Yom Kippur, I entered the internest sanctum, the Holy of Holies, to offer incense. And in a vision, I saw Arkadiel, the Lord of hosts, one of the names of God expressing His ultimate authority, sitting upon a high and exalted throne. And he said to me, Ishmael, my son, bless me. I said to him the prayer that God prays. May it be your will that your mercy overcome your anger. Now we have also the throne, also the same story. And as I know, I think also in God's throne is written similar like this in Islamic
literature. Just to be clear, so what we're seeing here is that we see the source of the Islamic idea of God praying, and also we're seeing the idea of God's mercy overcoming His anger.
Yeah.
So
in Islam, it's like short one. Just make the main point. In the Talmud, it's longer one, but it's also the main point. Start with the main point, and after that, going like elaboration of the main point. And may your mercy prevail over your other attributes, etc., etc.
Yeah.
So it's basically, this is the story. Look now, this rabbi have a vision after Christ. In Islam, they believe that between the Christ and Muhammad, there was no new revelations, no one. And this rabbi had some revelation after Christ, like 100 and I don't know, 10, 50, 20 years after Christ. He had vision and also said the prayer that God prays. So it's pretty crazy because as I know, in the, for instance, Targums, like official Jewish literature, that was confirmed even by the Christ in the Gospels. In couple times he quote the Targums. There is no these stories I know, and it's probably some stuff that was, like made by the rabbis, Pharisees, rabbis, and I'm not even sure that this stuff was exist in the time of Jesus or was like accepted with the official Judaism in the time of Jesus. Now we have a fifth example. It's famous Surah 65:4 and the Mishnah Yavamot 4:10. Wow, well, about Surah 65:4, it's not subject today, so I will not elaborate so long. But basically, from this surah and a couple so-called Sahih hadiths from Bukhari, Muslim, and from Ubay ibn Ka'b and his student in Al-Tabari Tafsir, and others, Muslim Sharia take the law that is allowed to have sex with the prepubescent little girls, and I can prove that from the official Islamic books like Hidayah, like Reliance of the Traveler, from official Islamic pages like Islam QA, most famous in the world. It's question 22442. A lot of them also. Also from the Ask Hanafi page, from the Ask Shafi page. I have ton of evidence, and even the testifying of the Islamic doctors, imams from Al-Azhar, for example, they said the same thing, that is allowed. Imam Nawawi, name it. So I just put it that kind of stuff here because people will probably tell that I'm lying from our Muslim audience. But believe me, people, I would like to be wrong here. Believe me, I would like, but I'm not. Unfortunately, I'm not, and I can prove it without any reasonable doubt because your scholars, your official Sharia books, your tafsirs, your Sahih hadiths say the same stuff, and some Islamic apologists, try to water down that. It said, but we have a surah like I don't know 9:4, something like that. I'm not sure. Sorry for that said. Test the children. Are they are reasonable? Are they are enough grow up? But that surah doesn't speak about marriage and sex in marriage, but about inheritance, just inheritance. To test the child to see are they reasonable enough to take their inheritance from the dead parents or never mind who else. And that's it, just to let people know. Now we'll go to the proofs. What is the problem here? Problem here is that they take some story also from the Babylonian Talmud, but did not understand it where, or maybe some ruler or some scholar was sick and perverted guy and like to have this kind of stuff like sex with the little prepubescent girls, and they take the stuff from the Mishnah Yavamot that said some other stuff, and basically explaining that is allowed to have sex with the children, and it's not in Mishnah, it's not in Talmud, it's not. So
they've misinterpreted it.
Basically misinterpreted. Yeah.
Okay, let's have a look.
This is the surah, and this is the period of waiting in case of the woman be widow or be divorced, and also said 3 months is period of waiting, and also for those who have not menstruated. Now, if you look Quran, that not necessarily mean that this is little children, but let's look else. So they take some opinion, one of three opinion from the Mishnah. Rabbi Yosei said all married women may be betrothed immediately, with the exception of the widow because of her mourning. The Mishnah now broadens in scope and say that all widows and divorce should not remarry within 3 months. That is the same stuff. Again, so that is clear whose child the new baby is. Nor that in this case the only issue is inheritance and status of the child. There are now 3 options in the Mishnah as to which women must wait 3 months. According to the first opinion, all women, even if they were merely betrothed, must be wait 3 months. Now, in Judaism, you have two weddings. Small weddings is just when somebody betrothed the girl, and in that case, girl can be infant, can have 1 year old, but the girl stayed in her father's house until she become grown up. It's for the Jewish in that time. In the time of Christ, it was little bit more, like 15 or 16, something like that, 14. But in the time of the rabbinic Judaism, because they lost their state, they put that border a little bit lower, but not like 5, 6, but 12 years in 1 day, and signs of puberty. And that girl should say after that, I want to marry him. And if all that requirements is fulfilled, then in that case, they are making second wedding, real wedding, and she go to her husband's house. And it's about her. It was 13 years. So it's low. It's low, but it's not 5, 6, 9 like in Sharia, and it was not so low in the time of Jesus. And before that, because Jews have their own state and their own laws. And in the time of Jesus, it's probably 40, 15, 16, something like that. But because they lost the state and the Romans, cast away them throughout the whole Persian and Roman Empire, they was afraid because they don't have their police, their temple guards and everything, their core system, that Romans and infidels will seduce their children or rape them or something, so they put down that below.
Yeah, sorry, I'm trying to interrupt you there. I read about this for the first time a few years ago. There was a short book or article or letter written by Pope John Paul II about St. Joseph. And it was explaining the situation when the Gospels talk about Joseph was betrothed to Mary, and a lot of people, commonly thought that meant simply engaged. But then in one of the Gospels, it says Joseph was thinking of divorcing Mary, even though he was just betrothed. And so it was explained there very well that, essentially betrothed was more than just engagement, like what you've said. You were essentially married, but it was only finalized when you actually moved in together, and there was a special ceremony when that happened. So, as you say, you could be betrothed early. You could be betrothed early, but doesn't mean that you actually
no, you couldn't sleep
around.
At least she reached 12 years in 1 day after. And the earliest in the time of Jesus could be 14, 15, 16, never mind. But in the rabbinic Judaism, it was at least minimum 12 years 1 day, and signs of puberty. And when you finish all that kind of stuff, preparation for the wedding, real wedding, and girls must say, I want to marry this my fiance, I want to marry him. If she said, I don't want to marry him, all is cancelled. So it was like 13 years ago. So it's low, but it's not so low like the Vagandis would say.
The unfortunate thing is that the Muslims they kind of half understand it, and they just think because of the betrothal,
no, they're lying.
It's a free for Yeah.
They're lying, man. Be honest.
Yeah.
Some Muslims, basically most of the Muslims, as I know, are good guys, good girls, good people, but
Yeah.
their apologists are not so good people, and they are lying. And they're saying, "Oh no, in Islam it's forbidden to lie." No, I can prove you from your sources that is allowed to lie, to telling some like half truths, half lies, to telling some 2 or 3 ways meaning stuff, something like that. So to trick somebody. And
Okay.
they said, "Oh, but Mishnah Nidah 5:4 allow sex with 3 years old girls." No, it doesn't. It's Mishnah have 3 layers. First is Mishnah, second is Gemara, third is Halakha. It's Halakha. What if? So in third layer, it's theoretical talking. What if somebody, some sick man, give his little girl for some other sick man to rape her, basically, to marry her through intercourse? So now rabbis know that is forbidden, but they are now talking about what will happen with the girl, what are her rights and everything, and that is forbidden. You will see now.
Okay.
It's same Mishnah Yamot 4 said, okay, this is the same stuff. Also, the betrothed must wait 3 months. It's not for, it's one of the rabbis' opinion,
Yeah.
and especially from the Judea, because they suspected that betrothed woman and betrothed man sleep together even before marriage. Now, you see? After 3 months, whether virgin or not virgin, widow or divorced, married or betrothed. So that is that rule that they try to put in the Quran. And now you will see just what I'm telling you about, that Mishnah don't allow sex with prepubescent girls. This is Gemara, Yavamot 68a. It's like end of the story. When you read the Mishnah, you need to read all the way to the end of the chapter.
Yeah. That's kind of
Usually on
important.
the end of the chapter is conclusion, people. It's not like our law, so don't read it with Western law glasses. Before this, you can see different opinions, sick opinions. It's basically rabbis, sometimes the teachers make intentionally bad proposal to like inspire their students for critical thinking to find the real solution. So now
Yeah.
this is the final of that. Instead that, for instance, the basically the priest, Jewish priest, common Jewish priest, cannot marry the sexually underdeveloped woman because he needs to fulfill mitzvah to be fruitful and multiply. And it is only priests who were commanded to be fruitful and multiply, but Israelites were not commanded. It's like a question. Why does the Mishnah specify that a priest may not marry a sexual underdeveloped woman? Rav Huna said to him, the halakha is like this law obligation, does in fact apply even to Israelites. And the Tana mentioned priest because he wanted to teach it in a way that would parallel to the later clause of the Mishnah, which is opinion Rav Yakuva, tako dalje, etc. Sorry for my. Now you will see the next stuff. So it's for the priest and for the Jews. Now you can also Sanhedrin. It's the 76b3. It's also the most the most important Jewish court, and it's the place where they made their laws. So said, for instance, one who instructs his son and daughters to follow an upright path and who marries them to appropriate spouse adjacent to their reaching puberty. So it's not 3 or 5, it's in Jewish law 12 years for the girls and 13 for the boys, and signs of puberty. Basically, put 1 more year on that, because it was not just take for the hands and go to synagogue and get married. It's process. So let's put 1 year after everything will finish. So it's like basically 13 years for girls and 40 for boys. Also, you see Kiddushin 41a, and you see this guy here, Rabbi Eliezer, very famous rabbi. It's from the like mid to late 2nd century. The camera interferes when so it basically says here the Mishnah teaches a man can betroth his daughter to a man when she's young woman. The Gemara interferes when she's young woman, yes, but can he can betroth her when she's a minor? No. This statement was supported of the opinion of Rav Yehuda and Rabbi Eliezer, very famous rabbis.
So it's very important there that we emphasize there that he's saying this, it rules out minors.
Yeah, it's against. And now if you read the Jewish, so let's be clear now, where she is ketuna, young is ketuna. It's between 3 years and 1 day and 12 years and 1 day, and size puberty. So she could be ketuna with 18 years if she didn't get signs of puberty. But when they said when she's minor, they said when she's ketuna. But when she's said young woman, it's nara. It's like at least 12 years in 1 day and size of puberty. So
sorry, can you just go over that? The Jewish vocabulary again, just to make that clear. I didn't quite get it. So what the two key
for
Jewish terms?
For the girl that have at least 12 years, 1 day, and signs of puberty, it's nara. It's nara.
Okay.
Yeah. For the girls that are older than 3 years and 1 day, and they don't have signs of puberty, up to 12 years is ketuna. But for instance, if the girl have 14 years and still didn't get signs of puberty, she is still ketuna. You can also you can't marry her also, you know.
Okay, so just to be clear, then there's a minimum which is 13, and plus signs of puberty has to be there on top of that.
12,
so that really rules out.
When the wedding was over, and it's like about 13. Yeah, Weissman. For the rabbis, teenager is young woman. Yeah, I know that, and I'm not here to lie. I'm not even the Jewish guy, but I don't like I don't want somebody to lie. Not even for Jews, not even for Muslims, not even for Christians. So yeah, if the girls in the Rabbi Judaism had 12 years and 1 day and signs of puberty, so she reached puberty, she could be married. And basically it was like up to 13 years because that wedding party and everything was not like in the same day, you know. It was some process. They need to call the friends, call the distant relatives and something like that. But that's basically that. And this is the proof
sorry. I think where I'm getting confused is that it's the betrothal would be 12, but then the actual marriage fully would be 13 or further.
Yeah. Basically, a lot of people because the Jews have like 2 weddings, betrothal and the marriage. People confuse the stuff because they have 2 weddings. It's small wedding and big wedding. Small wedding is like just betrothal, and big weddings is when girl reached the puberty, reach at least 10 years and 1 day, and said I want to marry him, and after that they make big wedding and the real marriage, and she go to live with her husband. Before that she must not live or sleep with her fiance. That is just to show people that they are lying to you. It's not good stuff. It's much more honest, and it's like on the God's path to say, okay, we are wrong. Sharia is wrong. This is not from God. We take something wrong, and let's throw it. Let's throw it to the window. It's much more honest. Then I know that will be problem because you need to start all over again, because if that hadith, if that tafsir, if that Sharia science was wrong about marriage little girls, now you can also reject many more stuff from Sharia. But it's better to start with the zero and did the good job, the good stuff, the right stuff. It's much better than to lie, for instance, on the Bible or the Jewish sources to justify that sick stuff from the Islamic Sharia.
Yeah. Okay.
Now we have sixth example. It's Surah 21, 57 to 65, and Bereshit Rabbah 38, 13. Now it's very interesting story. In the Quran, Surah 21, 57 to 65, basically telling us that Abraham's father had a shop of the idols, false gods, and Abraham didn't like it. So one day, one woman came and bring the like food offerings for the idols. So he told her, "Okay, put the food before in front of the idols and take the stick and broke all of them except the biggest one." And after that, he put the stick in the hands of the biggest one. And when people, his father and people came to him and asked him, "Why you broke our idols?" He said, "No, it wasn't me. It was the biggest one here." And after that, they take him to the Nimrod, to the emperor, and he was sentenced to be dead by fire, but fire didn't touch him. Now, let's look Bereshit Rabbah 38:13. It's also Midrash from Babylonian Talmud about 6th century, beginning of the 6th century. Also, the same stuff. He took the stick, broke them, and put the stick in the cave of on the largest. They came asking why he did it, and he said, "No, the largest ones took the stick and broke them." They also asked him, "Why do you make sport of us? Have you any knowledge?" Terah said to his father, "Should not you curse her when your mouth has said?" Actually, basically, Abraham told him, mocked him, and told him how he can believe in this kind of idols. Look at this also in the practically same stuff. It's paraphrasing, but it's the same stuff here. Basically, the same story. Also, you will find in this story is very it's very funny because the Jews believe that Abraham was with I don't know 3 or 8 years he like become basically grow up persons. They have some beliefs that patriarchs grow up much faster than usually regular men, and that some of them also like with 5 years was grow people and have children. It was crazy, but some stuff you will find also in Babylonian Talmud. Let's look next example. This is very very also strange. So if we have like jinns in Islam, it's not basically demons like we said, but it's some creatures that I think they borrow that concept from the also Talmud and from the I suppose Gizaraba of Sabians, because Ginzaraba talks that are angels from the light and angels from the fire, and jinns are from the fire, but not like fire that we know, but some others, either like cold fire, something like that. So same story about jinns in Islam. And now you will see Jajakigiga 68:6. So, for instance, it said 6 statements were said with regard to demons. In 3 ways, they are like ministering angels. In 3 ways, they are like humans. Now, rather, they hear from behind the curtain. This is this different stuff. So basically, they're saying that in 3 cases, the demons are like humans, take human shape, and also that they are multiplying and they are dying like humans. You will see later, and the same stuff is in the Islam. And also, they said, look at this carefully. not even the angels are the private to the future. Rather, they hear from behind the curtain when God reveals something of the future, like ministering angels. So basically, demons came to the heaven and listening behind the curtain what God revealed to angels, and because of that, they say for them that they know the future, and they probably going when people go to the psychics or something. It's like this demon heard what God said and tell the psychics, so people think that psychics are, like real prophets, something like that.
Yeah. Saint Anthony of the Desert likened the demon or demonic knowledge of the future as them. Say, for example, it'd be like looking at the River Nile at its source and then working out what will happen at the mouth of the river. So they work out the present and try and imagine what the
Yeah,
future
it's
would
it's
be.
our it's our it's our explanation. Jewish is a little bit different.
Yeah,
We Christians believe that they are very powerful beings and that very intelligent beings that have big power of
yeah.
prediction stuff, and also that they know some stuff because they are collaborating to each other, read people minds or something like that. So they could tell
It's a bit of
people.
both.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
not.
about.
Yeah, I wasn't saying that it was one or the other. It's just like there's
Yeah.
that other aspect.
I,
It's not particularly relevant to what you're saying, but
yeah,
just a thought.
but in the Jewish, like this connotation is they are listening the what's God saying to angels, and that that is the reason they know the future or something like that. The
Yeah.
secrets will unseen. Now
Okay.
you will see also they are like humans. I think also dying like humans. I must check it again, but
Yeah.
now you will see this is the official Islamic QA page, and they are also talking about the genes. You see here
Yeah.
that the genes can appear in different forms, such as the form of people and animals, etc., but people also, and also that they can also eat and die like people, similar to the Babylonian Talmud. And also they said the same story. You see here how fortune teller know the future, because genes go to listen what God is telling to angels, and sometimes flaming fire hit the gene, sometimes not. So if did not hit him before he tell the other genes the God's secrets, then that secrets came to the sorcerer, and sorcerer tell to the people like he know the future. This is basically the same stuff in the Islamic believing, and it is official page. This is most famous Islamic page, like Islam QA. I heard like millions of people today, every day, and every month read stuff from this page. It's
Yeah.
like I think professor from Medina University do recensions. This is also from the Hanafi. Basically, same stuff. Now somebody asked, this is well stuff of the polemics, because in Quran it said only God know unseen, and some guy ask you, but how jinn knows, how angels knows, and they are explaining basically the same thing, that the jinns listen what God tell to the angels, and they if the clear flame did not hit them or kill them before they are tell that secret to other jinns, uh, that secret will go to the mouth of the sorcerer or witch. Also the same stuff here is in the Sahih Bukhari tafsir, basically the same stuff. And
Copy
now they are
paste.
trying. Yeah, come again please, I didn't hear you.
No, I just said copy paste.
Yeah, basically
They,
copy paste. Yeah, and they now saw that some kind of problem is here, because Quran said only God know unseen, and the prophets is God reveal them. But here also the angels know, the sometimes jinns know, and they are telling basically, yeah, but in Quran it's not like general stuff. It's like Quran telling us that only God knows all unseen stuff, not just but angels and jinns and humans can know partly, partly secrets. They are basically trying to little bit water down this problem, theological problem. But this is not the subject now. So, for instance, we can also go from the, let's say, example 8. It's also Surah 674, 679, and Surah 21, 68 to 70, and Abraham Apocalypse and Bereshit Rabbah 38, 13 again. So the story goes that Abraham said, "Oh, I will worship the star, but no, I will not worship the star. They are not God. I will worship the planet, but no, I will not worship the planet. It's not God. I will worship the sun, but yeah, sun is setting down, so it's not God. I will worship the moon, but also moon in the morning disappears, so I will not worship the moon." You can read it. And the same stuff you will find in the apocryphal literature and Bereshit Rabbah 13, 13. So basically, it's not practically copy paste, but paraphrasing from the apocryphal Jewish scripture and from the Babylonian Talmud. Let's look next. And also, this is the Quran when they try to, remember when Abram broke the idols in his father's shop, and he was brought to Nimrod, just like in Bereshit Rabbah, and Nimrod tried to kill him, put him in the burning flame, in the fire, but God saved him. Fire did not hurt Abraham. The same stuff is in the Quran, Surah 21, 68 to 70. They put it in the flame, and fire did not hurt him. Also, this is the story of the apocalypse of Abraham. Basically, the same stuff. Abraham told, "I will worship the stars. I will worship the constellations, the moon, but they are not God." Finding like theological discussion about it. It's pretty similar to the Quran.
So just to clarify, you said Abraham. You mean Abraham?
Yeah, Abraham. Sorry.
Abraham,
my language.
That's okay. Yeah. No, it's just
Yeah, this is just to like dating, read the sources about that people saw that it's not like the legends of Abraham. It's like 15th century or something, but earlier, before Islam. You see datings here, like can be dating, but basically no. Conclusion is that is dating like late first century, 70 AD to 150 AD. But basically speculating was 79 to 81 AD by the scientists. So after the Christ. And here we have Bereshit Rabbah, also the same story, thinking about with Nimrod, going forth with him, and after that Nimrod put him to the flaming fire, but flaming fire did not hurt him. God saved him, just like in the Quran. And this is also Nimrod said, "Let's worship human beings." Ara said, "Let's worship water." Similar to this apocryphal legend from the first century. Now we have example 9, and it's basically copy-paste story. Copy-paste story. Targum Sheni and Halakat mysticism and Surah 24, 44. So let's say for Targum Sheni, he is dating like slightly before Islam or somewhere else, but this story Targum Sheni take from the Halakat mysticism from the 3rd century. So no, Jews did not copy this story from the Quran, but Quran copied from the Targum, because this story existed at least 300 or 400 years before the Quran and Targum Sheni.
Yeah.
So let's see the story. It is about Solomon and Queen of Sheba. So it was Surah 27, Ayah 44. It says, she was told, enter the palace, but when she saw it, she thought it was a body of water and uncovered her shins to wade through. He said, indeed, it is a palace whose floor is made smooth with glass. She said, my lord, indeed, I have wronged myself and I submit with Solomon to Allah, Lord of the worlds. So you will see also in the tafsirs, basically, Solomon want to see queens of, did Queen of Sheba have hairy legs? That is basic stuff.
Yeah.
It's like that, people. So he
She,
made you know, put lot of glass, lot of mirrors or glass on the floor, and when she entered the palace, she thought it was water. So she, put up her dress, and he saw her legs. Basically,
yeah.
that is the story. And Ibn Abbas in the Tefsirs give a little nice touch from this story. He said, and that is the first time when depilatory was used, because she had hairy legs. Yeah, you will find it in Islamic scriptures. Now, this I don't recommend this book. You can read it, of course, but I just take it because this is here quote from the Targum Sheni. Why I did this? You can find Targum Sheni on Sefaria, but it's not easy to translate. You need to translate every line to the Google Translator, line by line. You cannot translate automatically all the text. I don't know why, but you can't. I tried. So
Then
I find,
on the next
yeah,
slide, you have a zoom in. So it might be handier. There we go.
yeah, yeah. So this is the story, and it's from academic book. It's old book. It's probably update. These theories are updated, but I just take this part from the book to show the quote from the Targum Sheni. And the Targum Sheni is saying the same story. She was going to palace, entered the palace, and when she showed the floor, she thought it was the water, but it was the mirrors. So she put her dress up, and Solomon saw her hairy legs. Now, of course, this is the scientific stuff. So this professor said there be little, if any, doubt that author based his story on the water vision episode of the Halakhat tradition. It makes no allusion to the traditions about the celestial informant, nor does it touch of any or deeper issues and concerns the ancient Middle tradition. It seems, therefore, that the author simply appropriated the story from the Halakha tradition and adapted it to his own purpose, perhaps without much understanding of the deeper meaning of the story he was borrowing. So he talking about the Targum Sheni. So Targum Sheni take this story from the old Halakha tradition. So no Muslims did not take it from the Quran. Quran take it from the Targum Sheni. And let's look now. This is that graphic. So it's like no late in the mid third century, like 250, let's say. Went to the Queen of Sheba tradition, Targum Sheni, 7th century. So that is the reason why this story went to the Quran. Yeah, what can we say? Now we have also famous story from the Jewish Apocrypha, life of Adam and Eve, and Cave of Treasures. Cave of Treasures is like 600 dated. So beginning, end of the end of the 6th and beginning of the 7th century, but early beginning. So it's before Islam. and it's in life of Adam and Eve. It was said Michael angel Michael brought all angels to worship Adam in the sign of God, and only one who did not wanted to worship Adam, to bow in front of Adam, was the Lucifer, Satan. So he was punished and exiled from the heaven. And now, just to see the datings, predominantly Jewish origin, like Greek version, Syriac version, 3rd to 5th century, Semitic language, but originated from the 1st century AD, again after Christ, and it was apocryphal literature. And also you have in the book of Cave Treasures that God make Adam kings, priest, prophet, and Lord, give him garment or everything. Also, it was conflict with Satan, and because of refusing Satan to bow down in front of Adam, he was thrown out from the heaven. And after that, Satan tricked Adam and Eve to eat from the fruit, like
In
tree.
the Syriac tradition, Jesus is often presented as Adam, so that would make more sense. The overall story, the idea of having to bow down, because if you look at the previous slide, in terms of description, if I can go back a slide there, you can see that you have that's the one. You have the three-fold function of Jesus: king, priest, and prophet, which is actually the characteristics of Jesus, and also Lord as well is another characteristic of Jesus. So it's just to clarify things a little bit.
Taking stuff, Captain Majid. No, my friend, it's not. The sheep is a V Hadith. No, it's not. It's at least Hassan, man, and it's even Hassan from the Al-Albani, your Wahhabi Wanabi scholar from the 20th century. So please don't say lie here. It's at least Hassan Hadith, and I can prove it. So don't lie. This is also the same story from the Quran. And if we heard certainly is created, mankind give you human form, then we said to the angels, prostrate to Adam. So they prostrated, except for the Iblis. He was not of this who prostrated. Allah said, what prevented you from prostrating when I commanded you? So Satan said, I am better than him. You created him from the fire, and he is created from the clay. And Allah said, descend from the paradise, for it's not for you to be arrogant here. So get out, indeed, you are of the debased. The same story in the Apocrypha life of Adam and even Cave of Treasures. Here is also from the Brill, like page, the same stuff, guys, telling here that is in that works. Just because I did not find the book online, I will probably find it, but did not manage by today. But this is also the academia confirming the story, talking about that.
And Andrew Bannister has dealt with this story in great detail. The what's it called? The oral. Someone in the chat will remember the full name, but basically deals with the oral traditions in the Quran. I can't think of the oral formulaic traditions in the Quran. Unfortunately, I can't remember the full title, but it deals with this in great detail.
Yeah, no, Anna Maria. Adam was created the last, after the heavens is earth, after the angels. So it's apocryphal writing, but you are not correct. And Captain Majid, I don't know. This is some wannabe Wahhabi man. I don't want to debate with him. So this is end of the presentation. I can also give you like at least 10 or 20 examples that stuff from the Talmud was basically word for word copied to the Quran or to the Hadiths. For instance, in the Talmud you have, if you don't have water for ritual washing before prayer, you can use sand. The same stuff is in the Bukhari Sahih Hadith Muslim. So a lot of this stuff was taken, basically copied from the Jewish sources. And also Mel knew it. I didn't bring it here. Mel have on his video coins from the 700, so basically starting 8th century, that have Jewish menorah and shahada on them. And let's be clear, Muslim caliphs, if the Islamic narrative is true, had their own minting coins factories that could mint whatever they like coins, at least 40 years before that. And Imam Malik started to minting 5 years before that Islamic coins with shahada, and 5 years to it's like 685, but 5 years after that, about 700, he started to minting coins with the menorah and the shahada. And that kind of privilege Jews didn't have during the Byzantine Empire, the Romans, or in the Persian Empire. So real history is much like almost completely different that Islamic false history that was basically narrative from the 8th and 9th century crystallized.
Yeah. And an awful lot was confused and forgotten in the interim period. Yeah. So this is why we have such a complicated thing to unravel. But I thought the samples, the sources that you've used today really makes it very obvious, unless a person is blind, to see that there's clear borrowing from Jewish text. This is not something that a person who is illiterate can possibly do. I know there's the argument that, they just heard these stories mentioned orally. I can't imagine you could possibly engage in this sort of material just hearing these stories said in the marketplace. This requires study. You need just to go and look at it and stare at it and try and make sense of it and discuss it with rabbis. And this is not something you can just haphazardly just jump into it. And I'm sure rabbis spend years studying this to get any sort of expertise in it. So
but people, this is not like new stuff. I'm not some crazy brained genius that figure out everything. This is basically very new stuff in the academic circles. In the for the common people, they are not so famous. Maybe in the last 5 or 10 years, people start knowing stuff about that. But before that, no, because academics are very quiet. They are just talking behind a closed door about that. We know why. But in the last maybe 10 years, this stuff become more and more like approachable to the regular people. So you can, with the internet, you can download a lot of books, read it, present it on the YouTube, present it on TikTok, present it on the newspaper, some pages. And because of that, year by year, Islamic narrative just like falling down, just falling
getting
down.
Smaller and smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
As the holes and holes are getting bigger.
Yeah.
The internet has changed the whole thing. It means anyone, even Muslims in the middle of a country that has really strict laws can just go on the internet and find out this information. Big shout out to big shout out to there are many times Indonesian viewers watching and other Muslim countries. So they're the people that really can get this message out. So I think this video demands being shared, and so please, I don't normally ask this, but if you can hit the like button and share it among your circles, in Discord, and in your own channels and so forth, please share this, because this is really amazing material.
People, it's just like what can I say? It's maybe 5 or 10% of material, probably 5 or 3%. Believe me, when you read the apocryphal sources, Christian apocryphal sources, Zoroastrian, Sabaean, Ginzaraba, and it's like tip of the iceberg here, or even less than tip of the iceberg, because you heard for the Tawhid word. Oh, Tawhid. There is no Tawhid in the Quran. but Tawhid word in Nizaraba, it's standard word. Also, word like many of 99 God names in Islam are found in Ginzaraba, and Ginzaraba is older, pretty much older work, at least 2 centuries older than Quran.
Right,
And
that's very interesting because we're talking about this issue, the 99 names, there recently, and
yeah,
I got as far back as a Sufi in I think it was the 1500s, who wrote a book with actually 200 names. But there's 2 traditions in Islam. There's the 200 names which came from him,
I'm talking
and then 99 names.
about Sunni Orthodox tradition, let's say like that. And
Yeah,
you find, you see, Adam Sikir and I forgot the name of the others. He's Arab from Egypt, but he yeah. Ask Adam Seeker, he will tell you. They did, I think, 1 or 2 shows about Ginzaraba and comparison of the Ginzaraba and Quran. So you will see all the stuff. Also, Ginzaraba is from Iraq, I think, that part of the world. So it's also one more evidence that go pro theory that Islam begin on the north, not on the south, like in Medina on Arabia, but on the north, and just let's say pick little bit Medina. Sometimes they pick Medina for some reasons, maybe because they are attacking Byzantine Empire. So take Medina. It's like gathering forces there. It's like capital for that. Because after that, all the capitals was in Syria, Baghdad, but nowhere in Mecca and Medina. And Mecca started to get mentions in the history just in 8th century. Before that, it was a small village, and nowhere before 4th century are even nothing evidence that exists something there. And Romans, for instance, did some expedition through Hijaz, went to the Yemen. Yeah, they came to the Yemen like 26 years after or before Christ, but it's centuries before Islam. And they didn't find, they find Medina, but they didn't find Mecca. They find Makuraba, they find Yemen, but they didn't find Mecca. Also, they said Mecca have a Jeddah. Jeddah was famous port centuries before Islam. No, because Alexander Macedonicus make expedition. It's like ages before that, and went around Arabia to find some port to basically can take food and water for his army and attack some part of Egypt or Africa from the south. And that was unexpected, but he didn't find anything there. On
yeah.
the other side, on the Africa, like African Horn and so on, and the Yemen was ports, but there were no Jeddah. So,
Yeah.
yeah, what
Do you
can
want
we
do you
say?
want to take some questions before we
Yeah,
wrap up?
sure, sure.
Yeah, so if anyone wants to ask our friend a question, please put it into the comments now, and we'll take maybe 2 or 3. Just obviously make it relate to what we've been discussing. So just wait now for. Um,
No, no,
what about this? Here's one question here. And,
they found city. Yeah, Weizmann, exactly. The oldest, as I know, the oldest stuff in Mecca that was found was like a Turkish fortress for 12th century, and also you have a lot of rock inscriptions between the, let's say, Petra and Mecca and Yemen. And guess what? When you're reaching old city Petra, the numbers of religious inscriptions are growing up extensively. Also, when you are reaching the Yemen, because in Yemen was also some kind of Kaaba, also the numbers of religious rock inscriptions growing up. But when you are reaching Mecca, the numbers of loaves inscriptions going up.
no,
So
so sorry, just to clarify, when you're saying they're going up, you mean they're higher. You don't mean they're going
yeah,
up over time.
yeah, higher.
They're higher.
bigger number is growing. So it's common logic. When you going to pilgrimage, of course, when you are close to the pilgrimage, you make rock inscriptions, because in that time people did not have internet and books like that. But when you are going just to the desert during the your I don't know, caravan trading, or basically just you are far away from the pilgrimage, what you will do? You will think about your girl, your wife, your sympathy, and make love inscriptions, and that is common logic.
Another question for you from Gavin James, who's made quite a few interesting comments this evening. Is this research published in book form? Is there anywhere where we can get this material that you've covered?
Well, no, I took it from the many sources, but I have one book I will send to mail. I think tonight or tomorrow. I need to find it, and I think a lot of this stuff you will find in that book. But
I think there's a book.
Yeah, it is.
I think there's.
Go ahead,
there's a book by Mark. There's definitely like a 2-second lag between us. There's a book by Mark Drury. I don't remember the name, or at least Jay Smith has mentioned a book by Mark Drury, that's dealing with sources for the Quran. I don't know if it's been published yet or is on the way to being published. So if anyone knows more on that, that would be helpful. While I remember it, there's a viewer that has offered to create a blog for my channel. I had an old blog, but I haven't been able to keep up with it. And so I'll be telling you more about that in due course. So back to you, sorry.
Good. For this kind of presentation, so well, take it. You can use it freely. Also share it with wherever you like. It's not some kind of problem. So people go ahead, take and share it and search it, because I could talk at least 2 hours more that I have references from the Jewish literature and Quran and Hadith, but it will be too long. Let's say honest, too long.
Yeah,
and
this might be the book Drury wrote. Actually, I think that sounds like it. The other thing in terms of sharing this, people feel free to download this video. A good thing to do when you're trying to share these longer videos is cut them up into snippets. Like take one of the examples. It might be like a 10-minute or 5-minute, depending on which example, and that could be really powerful to share with someone. And then, just work it that way. So obviously, everything is there to be shared, downloaded. I don't care. I'm not here to make money out of this. It's just to spread the truth.
Me neither.
Yeah.
Povratin Lozančić, greetings from me. This is my brother in Christ that helping out.
Yeah.
Okay, people, is any more questions that I can help you, because I'm not.
Yeah. Any other last questions? We'll just take one more if anyone has one. I suppose if no one has any questions, I might ask you. One is, how did you manage to link these up to find the Jewish sources? Was it just a question of trial and error, or were you able to find some blogs about it, or how did you piece it together?
Basically, it's like hint here, hint there, and one day, one girl, it's Anna, it's her profile. She don't have the channel. She just comment below our channel videos and put some stuff, because I made live about coins, Jewish coins.
Yeah.
And she put some comparison, and that hit me also. Not all of that stuff that she wrote it was right. Let's be clear. But I find a lot of similarities. So I try to, I connected the dots, because you see, Islamic apologists, thank you, Dragon Dennis. Islamic apologists, they are telling, okay, in this hadith, it said this was in Torah, but where is now in Torah? This means the Torah is corrupted, the same story. And that hit me. Basically, for the Jews, it's not Torah like for me and you. They have written Torah, that is Torah in the Bible, and oral Torah, that is Mishnah, Talmud, and Midrash, and some other works. So in echo in that hadith, they are telling that basically it's not the written Torah, it's the oral Torah, you know? Like, it's in, yes, it's not in the written Torah, but it's in this that Jews consider oral Torah. Now, in context of that hadith, that means that also Arab Muslims, let's say Arab Muslims, Arabs also believe that they are oral Torah. And I figure out, and yeah, some Davagandis or Salafi Muslims was very angry that when I show them. But what can I do? That is the truth. Take it or leave it, man. And in the future, when, for instance, they try to tell you that in Hadith or Quran is written something that is not in Torah, so that means that Torah in the Bible is corrupted. Just show them these examples, show them a lot of other examples, like that from the Talmud. If you don't have water to did ritual washing before prayer, you take the sand. Is same stuff in the Quran, in the Hadiths.
Do they know that there's that distinction between the written and oral, or is that another lie where they pretend they don't?
No, well, most of the people don't know. Not Muslim, no Christians, even just Jews know, yeah, because they have for their, or basically people. I don't believe that is oral Torah. Not like because I'm a Christian, but because of this stuff that did not exist before time of Christ or time of Ezra the scribe or the Moses did not exist. There are not any evidences that is like this kind of stuff was existed. These apocryphal stories, these stories that was invented by rabbis. I believe that some word of God also and oral Torah like was put in the Midrash, in the Torah, in the Talmud, in the Mishnah, in the Midrash. I do believe, but it's mixed like gods and human, and God inspired people what said, and what the rabbis after that put it is mixed. And like let's say 200, 300, 400 years after the Christ, that put new stuffs that didn't exist in the time of the Christ, so that could not be from God, and that is the reason that I don't believe in the oral Torah. I believe that something, yes, is from God inspired people, but that a lot of stuff are not.
Yeah. Well, on that note, Sasha, thank you so much for coming on. I'm sure you'll be coming back at some stage in the future because, as you said, it's like the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more in terms of sources. So I think you're going to give the Dawa teams a run for their money because they're going to be scratching their heads wondering how they're going to respond.
To take Osama the Doc and Adam Sikir, if you can contact them. Because they are both Arabic native. Actually, Adam Sikir is Pakistani, but he know Arabic, and Osama the Doc is native Arabian. So they can do like research about Ginza and sources from Ginza and Sabaeans that went to the Hadiths and went to the Quran. So it's another part of the puzzle.
Absolutely. So on that note, good evening, everyone, and we'll see you all very soon. All the best.
God blessings, people.